You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
Fix bayonets. We are now entering overdrive with your host, Alex Jones, broadcasting live from the front lines. If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
Well, I wish I could go for 3 more hours. This is a powerful interview. We're going to do a taped interview for the Nightly News. It'll air down the road. We're going to go through some more of your Twitter questions that are still coming in. Maybe we'll air tonight, but I don't want to put it all out at once. I want to dole it out. We're going to follow him up to this high school where he's going to be speaking and get some footage of that. So that should be powerful. Right now, Steve in Florida, you're on the air with the real Rick Ross. Go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, Alex and Ricky. Hey, what I wanted to ask Ricky is this: in all your travels and contacts and such through everything you've been through, and if he's not, Alex, you could probably enlighten him on this. Are you aware of the bigger picture as far as Operation Paperclip and the whole eugenics agenda, the pharmaceutical industry founding, and Margaret Sanger wanted to eradicate the
Sure.
weed?
Are you aware that the Nazi plan actually came from the U.S. and England? And so that's why so much of this is going on, the secret testing, the drugs, is that it's an attack?
No, I didn't know that. I'm totally...
Well, I'll give you a film called Endgame that I produced that just goes over their whole master plan. The truth is we're living in a science fiction movie. Good to hear from you, Stephen. Let's talk to James in Michigan. You're on the air with Rick Ross.
Hey, Rick, I was just wondering, I have a question for you. I want to preface by saying, the mafia, they would tell their members not to deal in that junk, but they themselves, through the French connection of one instance, were dealing it themselves. My question to you is, had you ever been shaken down by the mob for making as much money as you did? Because they always want a cut.
No, I wasn't.
That's because they obviously knew that you were a CIA conduit. the little mob doesn't mess with the real mob.
No, they don't.
I mean, I shouldn't speak for you. Why do you think they left you alone?
Well, it's obviously I had ties that was too big, even for them, and I probably got rich so fast that if you wasn't inside, you really didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. All these fake rappers say run around and show your wealth off. You're going to get arrested in 10 minutes acting like that.
Yeah.
I mean, real drug dealers, folks, real mob chiefs and people are living in small houses and gated communities, keeping their head down.
Yeah, nobody, if you didn't know me, you didn't know I was rich. I mean, my family, they started to know that, and they didn't know how rich I was. They knew I was wealthy, that when they called me for rent money and repossession money to get their car back, that I could do that. But they didn't know that I was making, $3 million a day and how much drugs I was selling. They didn't understand that. So the general public didn't know. Blandon knew, but everybody else didn't really know. So,
and I love how they came back to burn you later just to tie up loose ends.
That was really crazy to me, how they would take the guy that was supplying all the drugs. Michael said it in the movie. I mean, it was one of the parts that I really liked about my character is that Danilo was Santa Claus and I was an elk.
Exactly. Exactly.
So.
Oh, boy. Thank you, caller. Great question. Mike in Texas, go ahead.
Hey, you're probably hear from my Yankee accent. I'm from the Northeast, but I actually left that area about 5 years ago to come down here to get away from a lot of the drug culture. So for everybody who's listening to this, if you think that this is everybody who is of Caucasian descent, if you're listening to this and you think this is just a black issue, and I don't have to worry about this because this is just, some African American and his past problems. No, this is in your neighborhood. I grew up in one of the wealthiest communities in New Jersey.
This is too powerful. We're going to do more overdrive. Network, can you do that? One more segment? We're going to do one more segment, and then I'm going to have you come back. We're going to, I don't want to work you too hard. You ready to do 10 more minutes, 15 more
minutes? Yeah, we'll do 10 more minutes.
All right, I'm going to let you get some lunch here. I know you haven't eaten since breakfast. Stay there, caller. I'm going to come back to Mike in Texas. Listen, one reason I didn't like the cops dealing the drugs where I grew up was that I had beautiful girlfriends that got on drugs and got ruined. I had buddies I played football with, that were, super handsome, great friends, had great lives. preacher's sons, you name it, lives ruined on drugs. And they were as white as Santa Claus's butt. We'll be right back.
You pick up the receiver. With your heart racing and sweat dripping from your forehead, you finally muster the courage to dial the number to call into your favorite talk radio show. It rings once, twice, and then...
Hello, it's GCN. What's your name and the state you're calling from?
Surprised you got through, you squeak out.
Jason from Minnesota.
Please hold.
As you patiently wait for your turn, you begin to daydream about being a famous talk radio host and what it would be like to have your own show.
Jason from Minnesota, you're up.
Millions of loyal listeners worldwide waiting to call and talk to you.
Caller, are you there?
Cheering crowds surround you, calling out your name.
Jason! Jason! Going once, twice. Okay, we gotta move on to the next caller.
You blew it.
Huh? Wait. No!
Interact with the host you're listening to right now, online at GCNlive.com. Click on the community link. Engage with other listeners. Ask questions. Start debates. Don't agree with the host? Let them know. Be a part of the community at GCNlive.com.
From the water table to our soils to the atmosphere itself, our world is becoming more and more toxic each and every day. But it's not just the air outside that's toxic. Indoor air has been shown to have 2 to 5 times higher concentrations of pollutants than even outdoor air. And most Americans spend 90% of their time inside using toxic chemicals within their homes. There are more than 42 million smokers in the United States. Well over 1,000 types of mold and mildew linked to numerous conditions. And don't forget the fact that 6 million Americans live with pets they're allergic to as well. When I began to research these statistics, it was clear to me it was time to start cleansing my lungs in order to combat the toxic environment that we cannot escape, but that we can fight back against. Made with organic and wild cultivated herbs and manufactured in the USA, the new InfoWars Life Lung Cleanse is here in a convenient spray bottle that can be brought with you throughout any toxic environment. Now available exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.
With autumn in the air, it's time to think about getting ready for winter. And it's time to save at herbalhealer.com. You'll find amazing seasonal savings to prepare you for the fight against cold and flu season. Like Oregacillin to promote lung health. 30 capsules, regularly $34.95, now only $25. HHA Olive Leaf, the natural antiviral, normally $16.95, now 60 capsules are just $12. HHA Elderberry Power, a great flu and virus fighter, regularly $16.95, 60 capsules, now $10. Save on all our homeopathic detoxes. Choose from lungs, kidney, liver, brain, libido, or whole body, normally $26.95, now just $20. Visit herbalhealer.com and click on the Fall Winter Specials button to save on all our natural cold and flu fighting products. Also explore our Herbal Healer Academy correspondence courses that teach you how to handle your health naturally. herbalhealer.com, healing the world with nature, one person at a time, since 1988.
One ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line.
The Alex Jones Show. Because there is a war on for your mind.
By the way, Rick Ross will be speaking at Brave New Books tonight down on Guadalupe Street.
It's collective status.
Oh, collective status. See, I was misunderstanding earlier. That's when I said Brave New. Okay, where are you going to be speaking tonight?
I'll be at Creative Status, 516 East 6th Street, Austin, Texas.
Okay, great. And what time is that going to be? Like 7 to 8:30 or so?
Yeah, well, 6. I'm going to get there at 6. I'll get there at 6 to 8:30.
Well, that's fantastic. And again, plug it one more time.
It's Creative Status, 516 East 6th Street, Austin, Texas.
All right, Creative Status tonight And that should be interesting. Hell, I'll send a film crew down there with you. That's awesome.
Yeah, let's do that. Send a crew down there, and we film it and everything.
Fantastic. He's here in studio with us. We're doing Overdrive so that you get a chance to talk to him. Mike, Mark, Dean. We've got some more Twitter questions. His website is IamTheRealRickRoss.com, FreewayRick.com. And let's go ahead now and go back to Mike. Mike, tell your story about moving down here to get away from the drug culture. I've got friends from like upstate New York that moved down here a decade ago. They said they moved down here as well because upstate New York, all the farmers and stuff are basically dead. And now it's just empty shopping malls and everybody's on drugs, basically. Is that what you're talking about?
It is, yeah. And it's funny you say that, Alex. I was going to mention a good friend of mine that moved here from Kentucky. You know, we're in the telecom industry, but his whole family were farmers, and they can't raise farmers or coal miners. They can't make a living anymore because of all of the so-called, green laws that have been put in. And now everybody's, a meth dealer there, or grows pot. The sick thing about my situation is I have in-laws, actually ex-in-laws, who were in the police department in New York City. And they were at a very high level and always worked with drug enforcement agents whenever big busts were going to take place. Well, all of these guys that were, my family members, in-laws, who were in the police department had these beautiful, like mansion-style houses. And I would say, to my wife, my ex-wife now, I would say, I know what your brother makes, and there's no way that he can live that way. And she said, well, they make overtime, and so after years and years, I mean, I'm 50 now. This started when I was in my 30s. I would say, look, there's absolutely no way that this guy can pull down the kind of money he's making on a salary, even with overtime. There's something wrong. Well, we had cousins from my family die from drug overdoses, and I would openly say at family parties and holidays to this guy, I would say, the main kingpin in the family, how do you look at yourself knowing that you work with these people that bring this stuff into the country? And it's not just in the poor black neighborhoods.
Oh, it's the rich neighborhoods, black or white or Hispanic. It's worse there because people got money. That's where the drug dealing's going on. I know.
The cops never raid those houses. Now, that's the problem, is that in those houses, they don't get search warrants so easy. But in the black community, they can go into a judge and say, hey, I saw this guy selling drugs, and I saw this happening, and then the cops just come in and raid your house. But everybody knows that
Listen,
whites use more drugs than blacks.
I know people that work at the fanciest hotel in Austin. I'll just leave it at that. The one where the president stays. In fact, I shouldn't even get into this because the point is that they'll catch people with drugs and the cops throw it in the trash can because that place doesn't want to have a rep. I mean, that's how controlled stuff is.
Yeah.
And the Austin Police Department's one of the better ones in the country. I mean, they're not involved in a lot of corruption compared to other departments that we've looked at because I've really looked into it.
Yeah.
But still, yeah, the rich areas just get left alone, basically.
Oh, absolutely. And don't go to prison. Now, we're not saying that it's not in the white communities, because it absolutely is. But the blacks, when it comes to prison time in the court system, that's what you're going to see in court.
Well, I've seen the statistic. I think a black person for drug crimes on average gets 5 times the sentence.
Yeah, they do. It's exact same crime. You can have the same
What are those judges thinking? I mean, they must be really racist.
I mean, when somebody comes in there that don't look like you, and remember, with this hip-hop culture, black men have been criminalized. I mean, when you see a black guy, first thing you do is hit the lock on your door. Oh, this is thug.
Well, black folks say they do that.
Absolutely. Because this has been planted in everybody's mind that we're criminals. I mean, look at all our heroes. Jay-Z, Rick Ross, 50 Cent. All of these guys are talking about the criminal culture.
And Dr. Dre, you got a meeting with him. You said you got cut off. What happened?
Well, I started to talk to him about what was happening in Compton and that we need to do some things in Compton that would uplift our community. That there's no job development centers in Compton, that nobody is helping these people know that you can make it other ways. Like, these kids believe that Dr. Dre was a thug. Dr. Dre is not a thug. He wasn't around when I was coming up. So our kids don't understand that. They don't understand that he used turntables to get rich. They think that he sold drugs and then took that money and turned it into music, and that's not what happened.
And what did he say? How did he cut you off?
He told me he didn't know that this stuff was happening out there. And I was like, How could you not?
So he just denies it when he knows full well it's that persona that's selling the records.
Absolutely.
And that he could use that now and go in and tell them a good message, and he doesn't want to do that.
No.
Because he wouldn't sound hard and cool and, be in all these